Hello, everyone. Welcome to our fourth video in the series Succeeding in Fifth Grade Math. And today we're going to be talking about measurement and data. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, first of all, we have to understand how to convert like measurement units within a given measurement system. What this means is I want to understand how to convert, for example, centimeters to meters. Okay, well, in order to do that, you have to understand, different size standard measurement units. For example, you have to understand the relationship between centimeters and meters, such that, for example, 100 centimeters is in every meter. Okay, so for example, if I had 5 centimeters and I want to convert that to meters, I have to understand that since there's 100 centimeters in a meter, then 5 centimeters is simply going to be 0.05 meters, since 5 centimeters is 5/100ths of a meter. Now, usually you're going to use these conversions in solving multi-step real-world problems. So usually these conversions will ask you about a specific scenario going on, and then you have to apply it to that scenario. Okay, let's also understand that you need to know how to represent and interpret data. Now, for example, one way of doing this is by making a line plot, as you can see in the two images below, to display a data set of measurements in fractions of a unit. Okay, let's go ahead and look at what that means. The left one really just shows you what a line plot looks like, while the right image shows you a real-world example of how a line plot would be used. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at what's going on in this right image, the pink one right here. So we're comparing test scores, okay? This is out of 50, okay? Let's say it's a 50-point exam, and we're trying to figure out who scored lowest, who scored highest, we can do a variety of things with this. Well, the important part to understand is how many people and what do these little X's really represent? Well, let's start from left to right. So since there are 6 X's above 30, that means 6 students scored 30 out of 50 on the exam. Since there are 4 X's above 35, that means 4 students scored 35 out of 50 on the exam. And so on until you kind of reach 50. So it's really just an effective way of showing data and then being able to represent it in a data table or in a line plot similar to these two. Okay. Cool. Let's go ahead and look at part two. We also want to understand how to use operations on fractions to solve problems involving information presented in line plots. Okay, let's look at this example here. Let's say we're given 1/2, 1/4, and 1/8 milliliters of water. Okay, they're all different amounts, and they are in 3 different beakers. Okay, what we want to do is find the amount of liquid in each beaker if the total amount in all the beakers were redistributed equally. Now, what this is saying is I want you to go ahead and give me an equal distribution. Initially, we have 1/2 a milliliter, 1/4 a milliliter, and 1/8 a milliliter in 3 beakers. Now go ahead and add them all together and then divide them equally again. Okay. Excuse me. So how we're going to do that is simply add those fractions together, right? So we're going to get 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/8. And then you're simply going to divide all of them by 3, okay? Because that's going to give you the average amount in each one. So in this case, the answer would be 0.2966. You can rewrite that as a mixed fraction or an improper fraction, or not an improper, mixed fraction or just a normal fraction. But decimal form is fine as well. But the important part is understanding the thought process that goes through solving one of those problems, okay? You add together the numbers and then you divide to get the average. Now, in addition, we want to understand geometric measurement, which involves understanding concepts of volume. Okay, so first of all, you have to recognize volume as an attribute of solid figures and understand concepts of volume measurement. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's think about it this way. If I had a sphere, okay, that sphere is going to have a certain volume of stuff, of liquid, of solid, etc. Okay, let's go ahead and assume that the volume of that sphere was 10 meters cubed, okay? The important thing to understand is that, first of all, I'm using that cubed because volume, okay, volume is always, always, always going to be cubed, okay? And second of all, we have to understand that the units, right, the units of the problem are going to be dependent on whatever the problem gives you, okay? In this case, we were given meters, for example. But let's go ahead and look at an example as stated here. Okay, so example 1, a cube with side length 1 unit, called a unit cube, is said to have 1 cubic unit of volume. Okay, So a cube, the formula for finding the volume of a cube is simply s cubed. Okay, so we do side cubed. So since we know the side length is 1 unit, we just do 1 cubed, which we know is 1. And that's a unit cube. Okay, and the reason it has 1 cubic unit of volume is because you just do 1 times 1 times 1, and you simply get 1. So it only has 1 cubic unit of volume. Okay, if we wanted to change that up a bit, let's say we had a cube with side length of 2 units, okay? Then that is going to have 8 cubic units, right? Because you do 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 cubed. Okay, now the second example here says I have a solid figure and it has to be packed without gaps or overlaps using n unit cubes, and then it has a volume of n cubic units. While not exactly an example, what this is telling us is that there is a cube. It has no gaps, nothing whatsoever, so that we have an exact number. And this n is just basically a variable that would represent a real number in a legitimate problem. Okay. So that second thing is just something for you to keep in mind when you're solving these. Okay, let's look at the second part of this lesson of geometric measurement. This second part is asking you to measure volumes by counting unit cubes using cubic centimeters, cubic inches, cubic feet, and improvised units. Okay, well, if we want to find the volumes, okay, yes, all you have to do is count the unit cubes. So if I had let's say I had something with 3 unit cubes, okay, all you're going to just go ahead and say is, okay, I have 3 cubic units of volume. Uh, if you wanted to use specific sort of taxonomy with specific words like centimeters, inches, feet, you can say, hey, I have 3 unit cubes, and now I have 3 cubic feet of volume or something like that, right? If it's specified feet in the problem. Okay, the third part of this is relating volume to the operations of multiplication and addition, and this is not too bad. So 2 main formulas that you have to know here. First of all, volume is length times width times height. And it can also be base times height, right? Depends on what sort of solid we're looking at. Surface area is 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times height times width. Okay, so those are your 3 big formulas up there. Now let's look at some specific examples. Let's say I'm asking you for the volume of a rectangle and it had a length of 5, a width of 4, and a height of 3. Okay, all it requires you to do is follow the volume formula and do 5 times 4 times 3 to give you 120 cubic units of something, right? Depending on what the units are. Okay, if we're asked for the surface area of a rectangle, same length, same width, same height, all you're going to do is plug in everything into the formula listed above and multiply and add it together to give you 94 cubic units of something. Now, it's very, very important that you're careful here to understand that you have to use parentheses around here as you do each thing. So 2 times 5 times 4 would give you 40, right? 2 times 5 times 3 will give you 30, okay? And then 2 times 3 times 4 is going to give you 24. And then you have to add those pieces together, right? So you have 40 plus 30 plus 24, which would give you 94, as you can see from right here. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide here. 1 second. And actually, there is no next slide. So that is the end of today's lesson. We're going to be jumping into the final unit for grade 5 after this video. Okay. So depending on when you're watching this, it should already be published by the time you're watching this. But just go to our Succeeding in 5th Grade Math playlist and it should be located there. But besides that, I will talk to you guys next time and hope you guys have a great rest of your day.